In this video, I'm going to show you how to run your Go Lambdas, your AWS Go Lambdas locally in your development machine, and then push them off to AWS proper when you've done all that tedious mucking about and debugging on your local machine. So how are we going to do this? The method that I found that actually really surprised me, was way easier than I thought it was going to be, is through something called SAM, or the AWS serverless application model. Now SAM has a command line client, or a CLI. I've already installed it on my OS X. To install it on OS X, if you're in Homebrew, you can do brew, tap, AWS tap to add the tap, and then brew install AWS SAM CLI, which has got hyphens between. But I've already got it installed. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you the version, which is 1.5.50. This is August 2022, if you're wondering when this was done, if YouTube doesn't show the date or timestamp. So once we've got it installed, the next thing is we're going to follow the Hello World tutorial. Like all great things, as a Hello World. Actually, AWS lied. It only says hello. It doesn't say Hello World, which I was most gutted about. What we actually do is there is going to be an instance of an API gateway, which is forwarded to our Hello World Lambda, which will return a HTTP API gateway response. My use case is actually around SQS. I don't really care about that, and if you've got a similar thing going on, this might actually be useful for you. So we're going to use SAM, and what SAM will do is it will create us a bunch of local files on our development machine, which includes the Go code. It will include a SAM template, which actually drives CloudFormation underneath. It will create IAM roles and everything you need to get your Lambda working properly, which is staggering really when you think about it. My first foray with Lambda was nothing but hair raising. So what we're going to do, I'm in a SAM test directory. I'm going to do a SAM init. Now, I've also got Visual Code open. I've got the AWS toolset for Visual Code installed, and I'm connected, which I'll show you that. It's really, really handy. I do a SAM init, and what we actually get now is a question. Which template source would you like to use? Custom template location or AWS Quick Start. Now, I've only just started using SAM. I've not actually explored custom templates yet, so I don't have any. So let's go with the Quick Start templates. I have actually explored some of these options, and I'm going to go with a Hello World example because the standalone function doesn't give you a Go runtime option. Would you like to use the blah 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 most popular runtime package type? No, I would not. Once we say no to this, it gives you a choice. So we can say, hey, we want Go, we want the zip package. Would you like to enable X-ray tracing? No. I'm going to do everything as simply as absolutely possible. A, for speed, and B, to just show you how awesome this is. And I'm also going to just clear down some other terminal stuff I've got going on because I want to show you some stuff. Now what happens, SAM will build you a directory, and I'm just going to jump into test now, and I'll do a tree of the directory we're in. So you have a make file, which is ultimately a wrapper for, I think, SAM build anyway. We've got a readme. We've got an events directory with an event.json in there, which is a synthetic event to feed to your Lambda instead of doing it via HTTP. We've then got the Hello World directory with our Go files, and we're going to do some modifications to those and the actual SAM template .yaml file. So first things first, does this work out of the box? We've all had demos where the demo Hello World doesn't work. Let's give it a whirl. So we go SAM build, and come on, build succeeded. It says it's worked. The way we do invocation is SAM local invoke E, we provide the E switch for the event, and then the event input. And it worked, which is kind of cool. So what we see here is everything you'd expect to see with Lambdas. It mounts it, we have a start, we have an end, we have a report, and the build duration and everything else. And then we have the actual output returned to us via the wrapper around the actual Lambda function itself, which is the API gateway response type, which is interesting. So let's go off, let's take a look at the source code. And that's what's happening here in your handler function. So your handler function is the entry point. It receives the API gateway proxy request, and then it returns an error, and then the API gateway proxy response as well at the same time. And you notice it kind of just doesn't say hello world and blah. It just goes hello, whatever the IP is, which is, I don't know. I think a hello world's always supposed to return hello world. But we don't want any of this in our code, do we? And the answer to that, David, is no, we don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the directory name. I'm going to delete the test because I don't have time right now to do TDD for this particular demo, and actually our test is really, really simple. I'm going to massacre this handler function. What I'm going to do is we're going to just return an error, nothing more, nothing less, and I'm just going to provide some logging. Yeah, let's do that. So events are SQS, and it's an event. Now what we'll actually have here is, because our SQS queue contain multiple events, and we'll have a handler or I think an event source configured on AWS. Not in this video, there'll probably be a different one which will feed a number of SQS events into this handler. So if I hover over this, you'll actually see the SQS event is a slice of records, which is what I'd expect it to be. And we're just going to return nil, which satisfies the handler signature, but that's not good enough really, is it? So let's do something really, really simple and just pretend we're doing something with the SQS messages. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a for loop, and then I'm just going to do so for k v is equal to range, and then request.records, and then I am going to do a log.printf. Let's have a look then. So record will be, get the right key, %v, and then we're going to want to look at the body of the SQS record. So again, I'm just going to be really lazy here and just do something that I know is going to be fine for kicking the task. My keyboard is offset just ever so slightly, that's annoying. And then I'm going to give it k, which will be an integer for the record index, and then for the second parameter we're going to give it the SQS body. Now the event we're feeding into this, I'm going to be working with FIFO queues. That has a very different event format in JSON. Obviously we're going to feed it a synthetic event than a normal standard queue has, so we just need to make sure we go off and sort the event file out. So that's our Go code, really, really simple. And then you're going to be shouting at the screen saying, Dave, you need to go and do your Go mod. You're absolutely right. Now then, so that's the Go stuff taken care of. We can leave that alone, and then we get to our template file. This is a SAM template file. Some of this is going to change, some of it isn't going to change. So we're going to change our resources from a hello world function to test function. AWS serverless function will remain. Code URI will be test / handler will be test. Go runtime will be go1.x. Now, because I don't want to be handling API gateway stuff, these events will disappear. I'm not going to be doing anything with the environmental variables, so they will go, and then outputs will change as well. I'm going to do something referred to in the UK as a Blue Peter effort, which basically means it's pre-prepared. This is something that I played with earlier today. To be honest, it only took 5 minutes, so not like I've spent 4 hours and I'm making this all look easy. It literally took me 5 minutes of a little bit of documentation reading. I'll share all the links for that, by the way, as well, because it will help you. I come across a little bit of magic, actually. So a lot of this is really, really simple. So test function, I've already mentioned, we've changed URI and handler information. Test function outputs have also changed. We've got an implicit IAM role, and we've also then got the ARN for the test function. But the thing I've just highlighted here is an IAM policy in line with the SAM template, which is pretty cool, because what I'm doing, I'm paving the way for me later on when I start adding meat to the bones on this. I'm not going to do anything with SQS really just yet, but what I'm going to basically do is handle a message and then call and delete the message from the upstream SQS. But if I'm going to do this, I might as well add the IAM policy in right now as part of the SAM deployment. So that's the template, and then we have the event. Now this event is for the API gateway, which is not going to suit. It's not going to satisfy or suit us. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to replace it with a FIFO based JSON payload with a single record in our slice, which is this inner one here. We've got a test message for FIFO queue. I've changed 3 things, and now I want to make sure it works. Okay, so I'm going to do SAM build. This should build succeeded, fantastic. And I'm going to show you what happens now. So SAM instantiates the local Lambda on Docker. So I'm going to do SAM invoke whoops, wrong, sorry, SAM local invoke event JSON. I'm going to get Docker command ready in the background to show you how quick this is. So if I do Docker PS now, nothing's there. SAM local invoke, the Docker instance spools up and it's gone. Much like how the Lambda system does it with keeping the the kind of containers warm or the runtimes warm. Docker's the same in our instance here. It's been and gone as quickly as we could blink. And then we have the outputs which you'd expect to see. We've got the start and end reports. The init duration, and it's about half a second to run this thing. I imagine this will be quicker on AWS itself. Build duration. And the reason you're seeing null is because I'm returning an error of nil. That's to do with the AWS runtime and the way that it's being represented here. Great stuff. So we've now played around with some Go code locally, we've tested it locally, and now we're going to push it out to AWS. So over to my browser. I just show you that the Lambda function's not there, the role isn't there, and the CloudWatch logs are not there. But what I am going to do is I'm going to show you very, very, very quickly how this looks. Now I've got a little remarkable tablet here, and it is genuinely remarkable. They didn't give me, by the way, I actually bought this with my own money. But what we have is we have SAM. And SAM, again, is the serverless application model. And then we have CloudFormation. And I'm going to try and write quicker than I can speak because we don't want any lag on this. So what will happen is SAM has a CLI. The CLI builds us a Lambda in a directory with all of the Lambda in a directory that with all of the supporting files, including the templates. There we go. Lambda, I can spell, which is in Go, fantastic. And then we test it locally on Docker, which is kind of handy. And then we go, oh yeah, we want to make sure it's logging properly, and we can do that. So when we run it locally, we can see what's going on the CLI. But when we then say, okay, SAM, now push it out to my AWS account through CloudFormation, a number of things happens. An IAM role is created, an S3 bucket is created. Also, the assets are uploaded to the S3 bucket, and then obviously that then configures our Lambda. And then there are permissions set up as well for CloudWatch. I think actually that's a lot of things going on. SAM takes away a lot of pain for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go off and push this Lambda up now to my AWS account. This is my private AWS account. So SAM deploy guided. Now what this means is it's going to ask us for inputs and questions. So stack name, this is a CloudFormation stack, quality test, AWS region, EU West 2 is fine. You confirm changes before deploy. You know what? Let's just go for this. Allow a SAM client, IAM role creation, yes, to 0, but I'm just hitting return here. Save arguments to file, which will go to samconfig.toml. SAM configuration environment default. Now go. So what will happen is the upload happens first. That was super quick. I wouldn't expect it to be any difference. We have a printout of some values it's working with in the S3 bucket name. We've then got the IAM role being created and the Lambda function being created. All of this happens really, really quite quickly, which is great because we don't want to be waiting around. Meanwhile, while that's happening, I'm going to show you visual code here with the AWS toolset, which is installed. You can install that for free. It just takes 2 minutes to install. I come across a gotcha where I needed to update Xcode, which I did that. And if I now go to Lambdas, I might actually even... Oh, there it is, look. The Lambda's already uploaded. So the AWS tools are connected through my local credentials on the machine. And you can see this test function is here, and I can do something like an invocation, but I'm gonna wait. So I'm gonna show you this because this is actually pretty cool. Right, we've had a successful run of SAM. So bear in mind, all I've done at this point is I've interacted with the SAM CLI client. If I now refresh my Lambda functions, the test function has indeed appeared. There is a CloudWatch log group that's been created in the background, which will actually be created properly when there's a first invocation. It's not there yet, but it will be. And we also have an IAM role. And I'm just going to show you that right now. because two things have happened here with the IAM role. What we have is we've got the test function policy 0 with my SQS inline IAM policy, which is pretty damn cool. And then we've got the basic implicit execution role, which was, included when SAM did its run. So we've gone from local to AWS proper in seconds. So now what we can do is we can't invoke the remote Lambda through SAM, or certainly not to the best of my knowledge, but I'm going to do that through the Visual Code AWS Tools plugin. So I'm going to do invoke on AWS. I'm going to grab the synthetic event information. Again, this would naturally be coming over an SQS FIFO queue. Then there'd be some event source mappings to make that happen. But right now, I'm just going to paste that information in. It's the same data. We're just being careful as we move across or move through the example. I'm going to do an invocation, and this should work pretty damn quick. So you see this, look, build duration 2 milliseconds, and mine locally, what was it, 548 milliseconds, I think. Really, really quick. This is rapid. And it worked, and we've got the same payload and all, which is kind of interesting. So actually that behavior then obviously mirrors AWS Lambda proper. There's more. So now we go, oh, well, that's interesting. I've ran my invocation remotely. SAM can actually get the logs. So I can get SAM logs, and then stack name is test, and then test function. If I don't actually type the name test function, it brings me out all the logs for the CloudFormation stack that's been instantiated. Now, if I've got 4 or 5 lambdas, that could get quite noisy. I'm doing this out of good practice anyway. And what happens, this is pretty cool, is SAM goes and retrieves my logs, which is impressive, I think, to say the least. And I think that's it for this tutorial. So TLDR, if you're wondering how to do all this, install SAM, the SAM CLI client. You're going to need to install some AWS credentials. If you're on a Mac, you might need to do an Xcode upgrade. SAM will then create you a directory with files that you can use. You can do a build, you can kick the tires and modify your code for local, basically for local execution. And then when you're ready, push it off to AWS proper. And then the other thing as well is now I can actually show you the CloudWatch logs. Will be here, policy statements, monitoring, sorry, my bad. Waiting for the recent invocations, view logs in CloudWatch, and I can guarantee this will be here. I tested this here, and there we go. Look, log stream. We've got the test message for FIFO queue. So really, really seamlessly, SAM takes care of all my crap. Again, I've played with some code locally, and I can now work on those lambdas in relative peace of mind and get it right before I push it up to AWS proper. It's taken all the pain out for me. And the beautiful thing is as well, if I do SAM delete, it will blow it all away. And the only thing we have to take care of at this point is removing the CloudWatch logs, and that's it. So hopefully you found this interesting. Thanks for watching. This is my first video as well as an AWS community builder, so please give me some likes or dislikes if the case may be. There is a companion dave.dev blog post which will also be shared on dev.to as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.